In the unit on matrices, we learnt how to perform matrix operations manually, which is important for our understanding. Manual calculations are fine when matrices are small and uncomplicated. As matrices get larger, it's appropriate to use technology rather than to perform the operations by hand. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Casio calculator to enter matrices and perform basic matrix operations. Don't worry if your calculator doesn't operate exactly the same as what I'm using here. Over the years, the look of the calculator has changed a lot, but the application has remained relatively the same. This means you might be able to get away with using a calculator that's much older than what I use here. For this video, I'm going to use the example where one family likes cold breakfasts and the other family likes hot breakfasts. The families have a choice of shopping at two different supermarkets. We'll find out what the difference in cost between hot and cold breakfast is, as well as which supermarket each family should buy from. The first matrix we have here is a 2x5 quantity matrix outlining the quantity of each item each family buys. The second matrix is a 5x2 matrix that outlines the cost of each item at the two supermarkets. To enter and store a matrix, select the run.mat or run-matrix application depending on the model of your calculator. Usually it is the number 1 on your main menu screen. Then press F3 for mat, which stands for matrix, or mat/VCT, which stands for matrix-vector. This is where you define matrices and edit their elements. To define our first matrix as A, make sure that mat A is highlighted, and then press F3 for dim, which stands for dimensions, which we also know as order. And then we enter the dimensions of our first matrix, which is 2 rows, M, which is our rows, and press EXE, which is for execute, and then enter 5 for N, which is the number of columns. And then we press execute again, and then that takes us to a screen where we can enter the individual elements of our matrix. I'm going to enter in this case, the quantity, which is 1, and then press execute. And then we enter each of the elements of the matrix and press execute until we've entered all of the elements of the matrix. Once we've entered all of the elements, we press exit to go back to the main matrix screen. Now we can arrow down and repeat the process for the second matrix. In this case, we're going to go to mat B and press execute. This time we're going to enter a 5x2 matrix, or a 5 row by 2 columns. So we enter 5 in M and 2 in N, press execute and execute again. And again, we're taken to the screen where we enter the individual elements of the matrix. Again, we press exit to go back to the main matrix screen, and then we press exit again because we want to get back to the run.mat or run/matrix screen. This is where we perform operations on our matrices. Like I said earlier, you can add or subtract matrices if they are of the correct order. You also might like to perform scalar multiplication, but that's not what we're doing here today. Today we're going to use matrix multiplication. So to perform operations on a matrix, we need to press OPTN, which is options, and then we press mat/VCT, which is matrix, which stands for matrix vector, which is F2. And now we press F1 for mat, which gives us MAT on the screen. Now we have to press alpha because we want to select the little red letter for A above the X, theta, T button. So if I press alpha, and then you'll notice that it's got a red A on my screen of the calculator. If I press X, theta, T, and now it comes up with A on the screen. Now we're multiplying matrices today, so I'm going to press multiply, and I select mat again. This time I'm multiplying by our matrix B, so I press alpha again. This time B is above the log button, so I have to press the log button. Now I've got my multiplication in the calculator, I can execute, and it gives me the solution of a 2x2 matrix. Now we know that we're expecting a 2x2 matrix because the matrices were multiplying. The first matrix was a 2 by 5 and the second matrix was a 5 by 2. The resulting matrix is going to be the number of rows of the first matrix and the number of columns of the second matrix, and that's 2 by 2. So that's what we expect. What this tells us is that at supermarket A, there is no difference between a hot and cold breakfast. At supermarket B, there's a $1.50 difference between the hot and cold breakfast. Family 1 should buy from supermarket B, whilst family 2 should buy from supermarket A. And that's how we enter matrices and perform basic matrix operations on the Casio calculator. Thank you.